Good morning, everybody. I am here to share some thoughts about movement. And so I am sitting at our exercise machine. So I'm going to grab the bar here and do some weights while I talk to you, at least for the first part. I don't know, this maybe isn't going to work. But I was talking with Gary this morning. He said, "What's on the agenda today for your video?" Because I've been moving so far, doing walking the first day, biking on the exercise bike the second day, and he said, "You're going to have to break that pattern at some point, or else people are going to keep tuning in to see what you're going to do, and I'm going to have to be like skydiving by the last day of the month." But I thought I would start with a little bit of movement at least, and yeah. Doing this weight machine is part of our exercise routine too. Gary, in the mornings, he rides about 20 miles on the exercise bike, and in between, I think he does 10 miles, and then he does some weights here for a while, and then he goes back to do some more, 10 miles more on the bike. And I vary it. Sometimes I'll go for a walk. Sometimes a lot of times I'll ride the exercise bike to watch Wheel of Fortune. And I do some exercises on here, but I almost forgot to change the setting. And so he does it on like 4 for the weight, and I have to do it at 2 for my level of fitness. So I almost forgot to change it. I either would have had to stop and change it, or really grunt through some reps of this. But maybe I'll stop this now for a second and just talk to you about what I was going to say today. I thought today I would start to introduce the idea of the way exercise changes our brain chemistry. You've probably heard of all of the different chemicals that are in our brains, and they do add to our well-being, and exercise can really help that. So they're often called the happy hormones in our brains. And so exercise, physical activity can trigger the release of endorphins. And those are the brain's natural painkillers and mood elevators. Those are also triggered by laughter and pleasurable foods, aerobic exercise, and also physical intimacy. Those all release endorphins. And then exercise can also give us a serotonin boost. That increases exercise increases the levels of serotonin, and that is the hormone that regulates mood, sleep, and appetite. And it contributes to overall feelings of happiness and calm. So serotonin, endorphins. Moving helps release dopamine, and that is responsible for feelings of pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. It helps us achieve our goals. It helps us to have reward anticipation, gives us a drive to get things done. And oxytocin is also another one another happy hormone in our brains that promotes social bonding and trust and intimacy. And so moving our bodies can get all those different chemicals going in our brains and increase our well-being. And as I was thinking about this series the other day, I was like, maybe I have enough experiences with movement and hiking and swimming and all the different things. Maybe I can have just a short little story or example of a time, something about exercise or movement every day. So I didn't sit down to write out and see if I have 31 of those or whatever I need left for the month now. But I thought I would start today by telling about when I had to go to the hospital for depression. I had gotten so bad and I felt so hopeless. I was in a teaching job and I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to just do it perfectly, and I couldn't. And it kept snowballing. My thoughts and feelings kept snowballing into worse and worse feelings, worse thoughts. until I finally felt so hopeless that Gary and I knew I had to go get some help. And so ended up in the behavioral health unit of a hospital in Iowa where we were living. And I remember that I'm not sure how much exercise. I don't think I was exercising very much at home before all that happened, which could have been part of the problem, you know. But I know that when I went to this mental health unit, I was so like down, and I could barely drag myself out of bed, 2 meals, to the group therapy sessions. But I know that there was one lady that I met, and she was walking the halls of this mental health unit often. I mean, like she would do it in the mornings, and I would see her walking around the hallways different times of the day. And I had no energy. I could not do that. But I noticed it. And then as I spent almost a week there. So after a few days, and they were tweaking my medication and, doing some group therapy, I started to feel better, started to feel more like myself. And then I got up and I put my shoes on, my shoes without shoelaces in them. They make you take your shoelaces out when you're in the mental health unit. I put my shoes on and I started to walk in the mornings and walk up and down the hallways and said good morning to the one of the workers there that noticed it. And I think is a kind of a combination of things. I felt better, so I exercised, and as I exercised, I felt better. It just all kind of started to spiral up in the right direction then. So I can attest to the fact that exercise and movement does release those chemicals in our brains that help us to feel better. And like I've said before, I think when I don't feel like going to the pool to swim a lot of mornings, I'll get myself there anyway, and I always feel so much better after I have my swim. And it really does, exercise really does help, along with other things for our mental health. Talking to someone, making sure that we're thinking good thoughts, and taking care of our bodies and getting enough sleep and all of that stuff. But we'll talk more about that later. And I'm going to share a verse with you. Nehemiah 8:10, it says, Nehemiah said, "Go and enjoy choice food and sweet drinks, and send some to those who have nothing prepared. This day is holy to our Lord. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength." And at first I was going to share that verse because of the last part, the joy of the Lord is your strength. And I was talking about feeling happy and, using movement, and we can get stronger as we move and exercise. But when I read the whole verse, I thought, oh, they're talking about, enjoying good foods and sweet drinks. We don't have to restrict ourselves so much. And so I did a little bit more digging, and this verse was actually part of, in the book of Nehemiah, when they had finished building the wall around Jerusalem, and Nehemiah was the governor and Ezra was the priest, and they read the whole book of the law to the people. And the people were weeping because they had heard these words and they finally understood them. And so Nehemiah was just encouraging them and saying, don't weep, don't be sad, just, celebrate and enjoy things. And the joy of the Lord is your strength. So yeah, you can check that out more in the book of Nehemiah. But I think that it's good for us to remember that as we move our bodies, we will feel better. We will boost those chemicals in our brains. And so I hope that you can find a little bit of ways to move your body each day. I'm not promising that I'm going to be moving every single day when I do these videos. And later in the month, we're going away a couple times on different trips. And so hopefully the internet will work every place we go so I can still do these videos. But thank you for watching. And I will be back tomorrow with some more thoughts about movement. Bye.